7 o'clock, shall we start with the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Poland. Here. Hofstadter.
Here.
Shoemaker.
Here.
Khan.
Here.
Coffee. Here. Vaughn.
Here.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Do we have any visitors that wish to address council? Yes, ma'am. Please step up to the mic.
The reason I came tonight is I know you're gonna be discussing the utility vehicle, ordinance, whatever. And I just wanted to say a couple of things. I watched the YouTube video, and honestly, I cringed. Mayor, I mean, I don't know. When I sign in to that thing, it doesn't tell me the rules. So it doesn't tell me that I'm not allowed to repeat something I've said before. It doesn't tell me how long I have. I didn't like how you treated Mr. Mullet. You talked down to him, and I would like to say what I'd like to say. I watched it, and my husband and I cringed. I don't know Nick Mullet. I just introduced myself to him. I don't have a dog in the fight about utility vehicles. But, honestly, Mr. Hines isn't here tonight. I couldn't have told you who was the mayor that night on that video. And I watched council meetings. He doesn't have a say in the vote. The six of you do. Now, I can pretty much take a guess as to how I think the vote might go. I've followed a lot of these meetings. I've been here a lot. I watch the body language. I see the tones. It could be a 3-3 vote. It could be a 4-2 vote. I'm not going to call out the mayor how I think it's going to go. I think the mayor's going to vote against it. But you six people, all of you, represent all of us. All of the people that live in the village. Not what you think, or 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 what you think. Human nature is you're going to do it because of what you want. But I don't know. I couldn't tell by the last meeting as to what the community was saying. I wasn't privy to that. I talked to one council person who said most of the complaints were about noise. Don't get me started on noise. You want to get a lawn chair and sit in my front yard, and you're going to hear all the semis and all the loud things and all that. So if that's all that the constituents of this village have contacted you about is noise, that will cut it. We've got buggies, electric bikes, the semis, that I guess is wonderful, like I said, that you want to sit in my house and hear it shake. But the reasons that you vote no shouldn't be personal. And I'm not going to say names, but I would bet you if there were some, to me, how it looked as I watched that meeting on YouTube, that, you know me, you guys, I call it right out. Either like me or you don't. But if there was somebody in this community that had influence or had a business and they might want a utility vehicle and they might be the one to get around, they might get it. Because I don't hear a good, I hope I hear a good reason when 3 of you vote no. I hope it's not 4. And 3 of you vote yes, and the mayor says no. There better be a good reason better than noise. There better be a better reason than that. And you need to be transparent. We hear about that in the federal government. It's no different in the local government. You better, when you vote no, I'd like to hear why you're voting no. I have that right. I live, you know, like I said, people, this is why we don't pack it in. It's not comfortable. You get told, you only have so long, don't repeat yourself, this, we're gonna that. That's not how it should be. If I want to sit here for an hour and talk, I didn't see a rule when I sat there. So I hope you treat him better than what I saw on YouTube. And I hope that when you vote no, or you vote yes, I hope that it's not because you don't like Mr. Mullet, or because 3 of you got together and you decided that this is, I don't know. I want it to be transparent. I want it to be the best darn no you've ever voted, or the best darn yes, but I want to know why. I would like that. And I would like it in the future. Like I said, I think more people would sit here if they were treated better, not talked down to, not told how long you have to talk and what you're gonna say. It's not a dictatorship. You're here because we voted you. That's how you guys got here. So that means a lot. Like I said, I don't have a dog in, I do have a dog in the fight. I live here. I do. I don't have a utility vehicle, but I live here. And I don't care if you have utility vehicles in this town, because we got a bunch of mess going on in front of my house, and a utility vehicle ain't gonna change anything else. And when I complain about the noise of the truck drivers, aren't they great? So, I hope that you'll think about what I said. But think about the people you represent, and if you vote no, it shouldn't just be because of noise. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrea, I would like to clarify something. I have never sat here and put a time limit on anything. Yes, we do have council rules. And it's 3 to 5 minutes, I believe, is what's in the rules. We've never enforced those rules. We've always let everyone speak as long as they want. Yes, last meeting, I did make a comment to Mr. Mullet, because he has spoken at every meeting for the past 4 meetings. He continues to argue the same argument, which is fine, but I believe council has heard that argument for every meeting now. Now that he's got something new to present, that's great. Okay?
Is that in the rules, that you have to have something new when you come to every meeting?
No, I've never,
And there's no rules here, so you should
Well,
pass those out.
we can get a copy of our council rules and put them
I
out.
like the rules, so I know next time what the rules are.
So, but we've never limited anyone to time. So, with that, we'll go down through the meeting. We'll address the UTV issue under the old business, okay? May we have a motion to suspend the reading of the minutes?
I'll second that.
Poland. Aye. Coffee.
Aye.
Vaughn. Con.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Hofstadter.
Aye.
Any additions or corrections? May we have a motion to pass?
So moved. Second, Khan.
Vaughn.
Aye.
Con.
Aye.
Poland. Hofstadter.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Coffee.
Aye.
Thank you. Bill Resolution 2023-03. Any questions on the bills this evening?
Was the Tractor Supply for softener salt?
Yeah, we have.
It says softener soft, and I just wondered if that meant it was salt.
It's
I
salt.
assumed it was
It's salt.
softener
Yeah.
salt.
Okay, yep.
Any other questions? May I have a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Hofstadter.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Vaughn.
Aye.
Coffee.
Aye.
Con.
Aye.
Poland.
Thank you, Chief.
I just want to let, in case you guys didn't see last week, Kim Herman retired Friday, had 36 years of service between working here in the sheriff's office. I just wanted to tell him thanks publicly. I really appreciate the help I got in the last few years and all those years of service. That's all I have, something for executive session. Other than that, that's it.
Thank you. Nate?
All right. First error on my report is that the Design Review Board will meet on the 1st, February 1st. After I wrote this report and sent it in, got the submittal, and it was by the deadline, so it's usually how it goes. It's an application some of you might remember from being involved with it. Dylan Kaufman's building, the American Hall building. He's putting an elevator on the outside. The elevator company and the contractor have explored it, and they're saying they need to remove the annex part of the rear part of the building that was added on. I don't know when that was added on, but
That was
That short
Sinclair
part.
gas station once upon a time.
was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I saw pictures. I think it was even before my time.
Okay. So he's applying, that has to be, because it's in the design review district, that has to be approved by the design review board. So that'll be coming to them on the 1st. Nothing on the sidewalk tap project other than the final legislation that's on the agenda tonight. You've all got a copy of that. I did receive the final plans and bid documents for the storm sewer project on Clinton Street, Clinton and Grant Street. I'm making a final review of all those, and then we'll work on scheduling the advertisement for the bid opening and get that hopefully rolling sooner than later. Did get the employment ad published for utility and street department openings on our Facebook page, and they were sent to the Bargain Hunter and Daily Record as well. So those should be coming out in the next couple weeks. You should see those. I haven't looked at it yet, but I did get the final copy of the comprehensive plan last week. I'll get that sent to you guys for your review. At this point, it's looking like February 13th that Kleinfelder, the company formerly Pogemeyer, wants to come present that to you guys. I'll confirm that with them though, so don't necessarily put them on the agenda at this point. It's quite a bit to review. I've started in on it, and I think it's well done. I think there's some real solid information in there that can be used, which was the goal of doing this. And then one other item I have that came in later on Friday, Aspen Energy Center refreshed aggregation rate, just to see if we're interested. So for he priced 12, 24, 36, and 48 months. Fixed price for 12 months is 7.42 cents, 24 is 7.25, 36 month is 7.26, 48 is 7.21. This afternoon I pulled up the most current AEP price to compare, and it's 6.74 cents from January through March 31st. So I'm of the opinion we just keep waiting. I don't think it makes sense at this point to lock in at, almost a cent higher than what the price compare is. The suppliers on that tool are anywhere from 7.23 to 19 cents if you were to shop it out on your own as well. So that further showed that I don't think it's the right time to lock in, but that's your call, not mine.
Might as well ride it through March.
Keep holding.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I think.
Yeah.
And then I have something for personnel as well, for executive session.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Karen,
You should have all received the year-end financial statement, and that's the acknowledgement sheet there. I had an email last week from Barbie's on the amphitheater, and they are planning on June 10th to have a ceremony down there for Brenna, for building the amphitheater, basically. And the question was kind of left in limbo, I think, when you guys approved this. How are we handling anybody that wants to reserve that down there? Are we charging a fee? Are we handling just letting people use it as needed? Are we handling the reservations here like we do the parks? Nothing was ever set in stone.
Do we
There was
charge
brief
for other?
discussion, but nothing was decided.
Do we charge for other facilities?
The only thing we
do
charge
if
for
we-
is the park, the ball fields
For
at Deer
lights,
Run,
yeah.
if they want the lights, and to reserve the field the whole day. Not youth leagues, but outside sources. That's the only thing we charge for.
Just one page of this today?
Yeah, because it's just the year-end
Oh,
financial
okay.
statement.
I guess my thought on it, I guess we should have talked a little more about this at the time, but until there's electric there, I don't see why there'd be a fee for it. Once we have power there, then I think it would that's what we do with the lights for the ball field. And then I was just anticipating that Mary would have another sheet like she does for each ball field.
That
noting
would
the
make
date and the
sense, but I didn't
reservation.
know what,
That makes sense.
Okay.
okay.
Let's
so
do
is
that.
everybody okay with
Let's do that.
Our property liability and casualty insurance will renew on April 1st. And if you remember, we had a 3-year agreement with the Ohio Municipal Joint Self-Insurance Pool. We still have this year and one more year, I believe, yet on this agreement. It's a non-binding agreement, and I've been getting a few phone calls on other companies wanting to quote us. So I wondered what your thoughts were on that. I'm not gonna go through that whole process if you don't want me to. I just need some direction.
My opinion is at this point in the game, we're almost to tax season and you don't need anything else added on to your plate, Karen.
Thank you. But it's also money for, I mean, it's village's money and, you know, we'll do what we have to do.
But we're in that 3-year, I think we're fine. That's my opinion.
And they've certainly treated us well over the years, so I don't see any point.
Okay, I just want to throw that out there because I am getting some phone calls, and I have told these other companies that we have an agreement. It's non-binding, so you can break that at any time, but that's not my call, so.
And there's been no indication from these other companies that they potentially could be cheaper than the
Well,
group?
they all tell you they can be, yeah.
I
They
got
don't-
some insurance to sell you, Brent.
They don't have all of our schedules and,
Right.
you know, that kind of stuff, so they would have to come in and go through all that, see what we currently have. And there is a 60-day notification to our current carrier that if we are going to accept bids, we have to notify them 60 days before renewal, so that would be February 1. We've got to notify them if you want to take quotes.
I have no issue staying with the current.
I agree.
Bob?
We'll worry about it next year.
Okay. All right, that's all I had, thank you.
Thank you. Bob?
I don't have anything but executive session.
Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is a UTV discussion. Mr. Mullen, do you have anything new to add?
I do. But I think we'll wait till we see how this pans out. I'm holding in my hands a letter from Kip and Gilman LLC, attorneys and counsels at law. I think you're all probably familiar with that already by now.
Council, any questions, any other further questions for Mr. Hines? Are you ready to?
If you want, I can respond to what Mr. Mullins said about this letter.
Sure.
I received the letter this afternoon, just about a half an hour before coming to council, actually. Sorry for being a little bit late. Mr. Gilman is the solicitor for the Village of Loudonville. He wrote a letter to me indicating he disagreed with part of my memo that you all received, which, by the way, hopefully you received also my revised memo. Mr. Gilman makes a point about whether or not this one section of the administrative code that I cited to you would apply to utility vehicles. He doesn't think it does. I still think it does. It does say motor vehicles. There is a section of law that says that utility vehicles are not motor vehicles, quote unquote motor vehicles. I can tell you that I have maintained from the beginning, and I've told you, the revised code is very confusing on a lot of issues in this area. There's also another section that I could cite to you that describes a motor vehicle that would fit the definition of a utility vehicle. So one section of the law says a utility vehicle is not a motor vehicle. Another section says that it does. How do you resolve that? Well, usually you would go to a court of law and the judge would resolve that. I have submitted my opinion. Mr. Gilman has submitted his opinion. A court of law would have to decide that, who's right and who's wrong. I can tell you this, that whether or not a utility vehicle is considered technically a motor vehicle, if this body allows utility vehicles on the streets of Millersburg, you have a duty to make sure that those vehicles are safe. There is a section of law that I cited you that deals with how do you do that? How do you decide whether or not the vehicles that you allow on the roads are safe? And that is the section that I cited you. That is, to me, what the revised code means. That's what the legislature means when they ask you to make sure that the vehicles are safe. Otherwise, why would one type of vehicle have one set of rules about what they need, and another set of vehicles have another set of rules? That makes no sense. And by the way, the law also says that you have the ability to make rules that are stricter than the revised code. And I would implore you, when you're deciding what vehicle is safe and not safe to allow on the roads of Millersburg, that you err on the side of making them more safe rather than less safe. So again, he has a letter from Gilman. It's interesting that he has that letter. I'm not sure how he got it because the letter is to me, but he has it. You know, he has his means. But I have responded to it. You know exactly how I feel about this. I think that it's a huge mistake to allow utility vehicles on the road, mainly because of the inspection and the burden that it would place on the police department. And our police department is shorthanded. They're going to be more shorthanded. You know, you just heard about one officer who retired. If you don't know, we're going to lose another officer as of February the 1st. You know what a terrible time we have had filling police officer positions in this town. If they have to spend their time inspecting motor vehicle, they're inspecting whatever you call it, motor vehicle, utility vehicles, it's going to take more time off the road. I think they need to be trained, because none of these inspectors have been trained at all. How can you tell whether or not a vehicle is safe if you haven't gone through some sort of training? And I referred in my memo, the troopers who have to inspect vehicles that are assigned that duty go to school for 2 weeks to do that. Now, does that mean that we're going to, and we should, I mean, if we're really going to put safe vehicles on the streets, they should be trained. And why should they be trained less than the troopers are, which is a 2-week course that they have to go to? How are you going to pay for that? What happens if that officer leaves the village? Then you're going to have to pay for another officer to be trained. It's a tremendous burden on this village to do that. And for what? What is the benefit to the village to allow utility vehicles on the streets? We have one person that wants to put a utility vehicle on the street, and he doesn't even live in the village. So, you know, again, if we had a big hue and cry of people that wanted to bring utility vehicles in, you know, it might be a different story. And maybe you should spend good money that the residents have paid to do all these inspections and train the people and all that sort of thing. But for one person who doesn't even live in the village, a lot of the letters that you have received have to do with all-terrain vehicles, ATVs. They are not utility vehicles. I've said very strongly, the village does not have the legal authority to allow them on the streets of Millersburg. So that is off the table. So, and it's very confusing. I understand why people are so confused. You know, ATVs are different than UTVs. Who knew? I didn't know before I got into this. And the residents of the village of Millersburg don't understand that. It's understandable that they don't understand that. But the issue before you is whether utility vehicles should be allowed, not ATVs, because you don't have that authority to allow ATVs on the streets. So that's all.
You know, Mr. Mullen is an outside resident, but we have heard from residents within the village, and it goes both ways. You know, and one day received 2 letters from neighbors that live 6 houses apart, and one wanted it, one didn't. I mean, it just.
And this was a UTV, a
Yes,
utility vehicle?
yes. The
I
letter
guess I didn't
states.
see that letter.
Yeah. So, but you know, from the people I've heard, you know, last time it's about 90 against 10-4. Now with what we've seen, it's about 75, 25 maybe. But from what I've seen, it's, from the residents I've talked to, and we received some notifications from, I still believe the residents are not in favor of this. But that is up to you six to decide.
And I'm sure that the residents don't understand the responsibility that the council has to put safe vehicles on the road, and the inspection requirements that go with that. Some would say, oh, well, you don't have to do the inspection requirements, and I think I've addressed that in the memo. That is not responsible to not do the inspections the way it's intended. And so, and you know, Andrea, and I respect Andrea, she wants to know reasons. I've given the reasons that I would think that why this council should vote no and not allow the ordinance for utility vehicles.
Thank you, Bob. Mr. Mollett, you have a comment?
Yeah, that was supposed to be in reference to the letter, not going into a big tirade about everything that's been discussed. Since he has brought up more issues and went back into it, I just want to give you guys some paperwork to pass out. Take one, pass them along out of each packet. It addresses the issue of last meeting, Mr. Hines says a certificate, manufacturer certificate of origin doesn't mean anything. The title doesn't mean anything for them. And if you cannot change the body style to a utility vehicle, Mr. Hines stated that, it's on tape. I have a copy of the tape in my pocket on the jump drive. And also these documents, one daisy chain to the next one to the number that we need to look at. And culminating with the inspection and the numbers coincide with what's being called by, and these paperwork come from state agencies. I didn't pull them out of my backside.
If that's all he has to say, this is a very well-known tactic of people who start arguments. It's called a red herring. A red herring is something that has nothing to do with anything, but they make it sound like it does. What makes and what he's bringing up is a very technical issue about how a vehicle is registered. And the manufacturer has what's called a certificate of origin. The certificate of origin will say on it UT, which means utility vehicle, and AT, which means all-terrain vehicle. My point is that those certificates of origin come from the manufacturer. The manufacturers are all over the United States. When they do those, they don't know where that vehicle is going to be sold. They don't know what the definition of AT is in Ohio or UT is in Ohio. So that was my point, that that certificate of origin doesn't mean anything about whether that vehicle is under Ohio law a UT, which means utility vehicle, or an AT, which means all-terrain vehicle. It doesn't mean anything because the Ohio Revised Code, the description is very specific about what an AT and a UT is, and it doesn't say anything about whatever the certificate of origin is, that's what it is. It does not say that. It describes what the vehicle does, looks like. That is the deciding factor on whether it's a UT or an AT. Again, that has nothing to do with this discussion, but he makes it sound like it does, has something to do with discussion, and it does not. It's called a red herring.
Thank you, Bob. Anything else, Mr. Mollett? All right.
Not in this meeting, it'll go to the county.
I have one comment to make. Wouldn't the Ohio State Highway Patrol, do they have anything? Have we checked into that for inspecting these things?
I did, Bob, and they don't want any part of it.
Because, I mean, we don't have a post in Holmes County, but I know they come from the Maslin post to check buses or inspect them at the nursing homes here.
Right, they do. And they have specific programs for certain types of vehicles. They have inspection programs for school buses, which of course is very important. They have specific things for commercial motor carriers, semis, and that sort of thing. They also, if you would go drive up to the post, with your vehicle and ask for a vehicle inspection, they would do a vehicle inspection. I can tell you that is nothing like the vehicle inspection found in the regulations that I gave you. It's very cursory. And Lieutenant Roberts, who is the post commander up there, admits it. I mean, we went over the regulations and he says, oh my goodness, this is nothing like we do here. And then he referred me to Commander Belcher, who was in charge of the commercial carrier inspections, and we went over the regulations, and that's more akin to what they do whenever they check semis. You see all these SUVs, like if you're going up 71, you see the SUVs that are either usually white in color or silver in color. Those are the inspectors for those motor carriers. They are there only to stop the semis to inspect them. They are not there to enforce traffic laws. In fact, the guys in white aren't even law enforcement officers, so they don't have authority to even issue a ticket. If the SUV is silver, they are troopers, and if they observed a traffic violation, they could give you a ticket. But they're really there only to inspect the motor carriers.
Okay, any other questions from council? There's no other questions or discussion. May we have a decision on whether you are going to allow UTVs within the village of Millersburg? Someone like to make a motion either way?
I have a couple things I would like to say, and I'll make a motion. So I've been keeping a running tally of people who have contacted me. 60% are for and 40% are against, and that is inside the village. Of the people who have contacted me from outside the village, it's 100%. But I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about the people that are in the village. Of those 60% who are for utility vehicles, 80% cited blatant traffic violations they see daily, so why not allow it? That was their reasoning. They see lots of traffic violations, so why the heck not? From January 2020 to June 2021, we had 2 speeding tickets written. So why are we more concerned about whether or not to allow utility vehicles than we are concerned about the safety for our village and the people who are blatantly violating current laws? Why are we more concerned about that? I feel like we should be more concerned about the laws that are being violated every single day that we all see through the village. It is our job to discuss ordinances and set budgets. We are entrusted by our taxpayers to be responsible with village funds. We are here to represent our residents and taxpayers, not to promote our own agendas. I can think, you know what? No, I'm going to vote no because I think no. That is not my job here. My job is to represent all the people in the village of Millersburg. Every person who has contacted me one way or the other, it is my job to represent them, not my own agenda. If we want to get into the safety of certain vehicles on the streets of Millersburg, sit in front of my house on a Sunday and I can show you multiple unsafe vehicles. So, I want to vote no, because I think there are laws that are violated every day. I'm constantly being told if we don't see it, we can't write a ticket, so we need more people to see it. However, I made a promise to the people of Millersburg that I would be their voice on council when I ran for this seat, and the majority of them said yes. So I make a motion to vote yes.
To allow UTVs?
To allow utility vehicles.
The people that have talked with me, it's pretty much 100% they don't care, one way or another.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Discussion?
You want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I've contacted everybody that has sent a letter in about UTVs, and of those people, most are confused. They think that they can take their all-purpose vehicle and drive it register it and drive it to town. They can't do that. The people outside of our community think the same thing. And I've had people call me and I said, well, understand if you register it in Millersburg as a utility vehicle, if it applies, then you can't drive it in the county and township roads because they exceed 35 miles an hour. Well, I don't want that. I want to be able to drive it in Millersburg and still drive it in the county. And I said, that takes action from the legislative authority at the state level because we don't have the authority to allow an all-purpose vehicle in town. That's a distinction that everybody's confused about. They think if we pass this ordinance that they can come in and drive their utility vehicles. My other concern, and it was 5 or 6 years ago when this issue came up the last time, and it's my concern now, and that's the liability that it places on the police department and the liability it places on the village for this inspection. It's not a kick your tires inspection. It says you must have the proper tools and equipment to test each vehicle to determine. And I didn't want that responsibility as chief. I don't want to speak for Chief Shaner, but if we don't comply with this, you lose qualified immunity. So I could be sued personally if I was a police officer that inspected a vehicle and a week later it had an accident. I don't want that for my officers either. Besides being short-staffed and not having enough staffing anyhow. Until they, I mean, let's push to have the legislation changed at the state level to make it clear, as opposed to pushing it back to local authorities. So that's why I guess I'll.
Tom, I do agree with that. In fact, I asked Darrell Kick today, meeting with him about that. And he was gonna do some research, something prior to 2017 that's on the books. So, I do agree, there's gotta be universal laws
Right.
that we use here. It doesn't have to be, recreate something.
It's just gonna create confusion with people, and it's gonna make people breaking the laws that think that they're doing something that they can. I don't
There's-
think that's a good idea.
You know that building complex out by me? Every day there's ATVs up and down the streets in the morning, in the evenings. I mean, I don't call the police. They have other things to do other than just that. Yeah,
If they're truly meet the definition of ATVs,
I'm sure that's what they
there's no
are.
way that this body could allow that.
They're used to for
We can't allow
transportation.
drag racing. We can't allow speeding. We can't allow theft. We can't allow burglary, but it's happening here. There's a
But-
lot of
but
things
you're not
that are
condoning it,
illegal that are still happening. Utility vehicles, this is my husband, a quote from Robert Raymond Hoffey, "I don't give a shit about this. There are so many things for us to deal with here."
All right. We have a motion, we have a second.
Motion on the floor to allow UTVs. Motion by Hoffey, second by Shoemaker. Hoffey,
Aye.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
Poland,
No, I've had more people against it than for it.
Hofstadter,
No.
Khan,
No.
Vaughn.
No, and I think I've already expressed my concerns.
I'd be happy to explain my position when it's time to do that.
We have 2 yes and 4 no. Motion fails.
We had an audience member ask for transparency. So two of the 4 have given their reasons. Let's hear from the other 2.
I'd be happy to. This is Councilman Brad Kahn. Nick, when you came to address council a little over a month ago, I really didn't have a problem with it. As we discussed things further, as we started to really dig into the statute and what this village council is permitted to do and what we're not permitted to do, and understanding the difference between UTVs and ATVs and underspeed vehicles and so on and so forth, this is the one thing that really bothered me. And before I get into that, I reviewed every single email, and there was a lot of concern about ATVs that were brought up, or a lot of language about ATVs. And I didn't totally discard that, but I understand that there's a difference. I also reached out to people, in the village, and got feedback from them too. And of, I think it was 12 people I spoke to, there was one that was all for the UTVs in the village of Millersburg. And when I asked the question, I didn't say, I'm for or against the UTVs. I asked them, this is an issue through village council. I want your opinion on the UTV usage in the village of Millersburg. And I explained what a UTV was. And we had a discussion. And the majority of the people were not in favor of the UTVs. Some didn't really care, but there was one that was really of the opinion that they wouldn't have a problem with the UTVs in the village. Here's my biggest concern. When I look at the Ohio Revised Code and the Ohio Revised Code and listening to Bob Hines, I believe that what Bob has shared with all of us has held a lot of weight with me. I think it would be irresponsible if I chose to go a different direction and not listen to what he did have to say. The Ohio Revised Code, it goes through a checklist on this form that you're referring to, and it's called the DPS 1373 form. And the Ohio Revised Code says you've got to check all these various different things on a UTV. But then on the very bottom of this form says, I certify that the above vehicle has been physically inspected or passed in accordance to Chapter 41 or 4501-30 of the Ohio Administrative Code and Section 4511-215 of the Ohio Revised Code. That is a very specific type of evaluation of the vehicle. And that held a lot of weight with me. That bothered me because I know that we're running at a deficit here in the village as far as peace officers or police officers. We need 2 police officers for the village. We also need dispatchers. And I don't want to burden an already burdened department. And I agree with what Kelly is saying about some of this other stuff that's going on that needs to be enforced. There needs to be a heightened enforcement of speeding and some other violations that are going on. We need to address that. We need to deal with that. But this administrative code was very troubling to me in that I think it's something that we need to do. And as a village council, if I was to vote yes, village council could make their own stipulations on requirements for vehicles, and I would certainly want this to be a part of that. I just was really concerned about burdening the police department any further with the training and the time involved with this. And that's why I decided to vote the way I did.
Mr. Hofstadter.
Okay. The reason that I voted no was, as Brad said, I put a lot of stock in the legal opinion of Solicitor Hines. That carried a lot of weight with me. And something else that I've asked myself since the very beginning is, what is the actual benefit to the village of Millersburg if we allow this? If we are going to the step of changing the law to allow this. There has to be a tangible benefit for the residents of Millersburg, and I struggled to come up with that benefit. And in the people that I talked to, I think I had 2 people that were in favor of it and about 6 or 8 that were against. And again, it's a lot of it is that benefit that it comes back to how will this make Millersburg better by doing this? And that was what no one, and I specifically asked several people that, and no one could come up with an answer for me as to what the benefit would be. So between those things, that is why I voted no.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from our visitors?
I didn't know when you had to vote for something, it was how it benefited the village. I mean, you've got a situation of gas prices soaring, places to park. I mean, you know, let me get this straight. How many people live in the village?
3,000 and,
Add up all the people you guys said you talked to. How many did you talk to, Tom?
Probably 15 or so.
Okay, Kelly, how many did you talk to?
16.
Brad, how many did you
I
talk to?
believe it's 12.
How many did you talk to, Bob?
10.
How many did you talk to, Brent?
10.
How many did you talk to, Devon? That is not a good poll. Because here's the deal, like I said, whether you believe it or not, they're only gonna get contacted by, let's be real, she works at Rotary, so she's gonna see some people do that, Brent sees, I'm friends with a couple on the thing. It's only the people close, that they know that what they want, it's politics is politics, so that if you want something, you'll make sure you tell your person. So they're only gonna get the ones that they think that Devon's gonna vote no, so they're gonna go and say, I want no. That's not an indicative poll. It just really isn't. And I don't know, did Tom, you know, you said something about, well, a police could be, sued. I can tell you, I don't know if you know that for a fact, but I can tell you that it is not easy to sue a police officer. I can tell you because my husband has a case where something happened, and it is hard to sue a police officer. I can tell you that for a fact right now. So to say that a police officer can be sued, I hope you have a thing about that, because like I said, something happened in this village, a police officer, and it's hard to sue. So I don't know where you got that. And the law is complicated. Lawyers find loopholes all the time. So that's what they do. So the Ohio Revised Code, every year my husband gets a new 2022 Ohio Revised Code, and it's every year the legislators are changing things. So it isn't easy to I hate to use my husband's name in vain, he's an attorney. So Mr. Hines can talk about, I'm not a lawyer, but I can tell you that you can go through there, and when he does appeals, and you have to find all kinds of things, it's just not that simple. He's absolutely right. The lawyers sure find a way to twist and turn them and to make them into anything they want. So you can pick, if you wanted to listen to Mr. Hines, that's fine. But you can get another lawyer over here that's going to say something else. I don't know who does the inspections for Coshocton. Nobody ever told me that. Who inspects them in Coshocton? Who inspects them in Loudonville?
I can tell you, Andrea, if you
Okay.
want to know.
Okay,
Bob Beaumont does it in Coshocton,
okay,
and Captain McCauley does it in Loudonville. I talked
Okay.
to both of them.
so they have somebody. And I don't want to add more to it. I am sympathetic to the police department situation. I am sympathetic to that. But you can't talk out of two sides. You can't say they're going to be so busy.
Andrea, wait a minute. This is a representative form of government. You don't vote on every time something comes up, like should we allow utility vehicles. They're the ones that decide that.
I understand.
And they always hopefully vote what they think is in the best interest of the village. You asked, I didn't know that that's how they were gonna vote. Hopefully that's every time they vote on anything, they do so in the best interest of the village. And you're talking about loopholes and all this. You evidently didn't get a chance to read my memo, but it's public record. You can read it. I'll give you a
I've
copy.
read other legislators, I read Coshocton's, thing on it. I've read that. So I've read other.
Andrea, like I said, I said before, I respect you. I would like it if you would take the opportunity to read my memo, and that will explain a lot of
It doesn't
why.
mean I have to agree with it.
But hopefully you're going to read it before you say you disagree with it. I agree, you know,
It's a memo, so it's your interpretation, lawyers interpret the higher, interpret law all the time, that's why legislation's always changing.
okay, and Andrea, they have hired me as their
I
legal
understand
advisor to give them my opinion of
And
what
they
I
can
believe
trust
that the Ohio Revised
And I
Revised
respect
Code
they
is.
can trust who they
I
are.
have done that. They trust my opinion, thank goodness, and thank you very much for doing that. But that's the way it works.
I understand that.
Okay,
I live
thank
in the
you,
legal system, so I understand that.
thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments.
I just want to add one thing. I hope the state of Ohio, with, you know, Daryl goes down and looks at something, to get something that's universal, that we can visit this again someday.
Bob, I agree,
Yeah.
and I would be happy to participate in that because I feel like I really know this area of law better than a lot of people.
We should have invited you to the meeting today with them.
And I, you know, I would love, I really would like, I'm basically the attorney for the village, but I'd like to see things improve in the state of Ohio.
Right.
This area of law is very confusing. I think I figured it out, but it took a long time. And I know that most people can't do it. I mean, they're not trained attorneys, so they can't do it.
I mean, our tax dollars pay for, you know, the Ohio State Patrol. Well, I think they should be the ones to test. You know, if they have to change whatever, do so, not us.
All right.
And everybody I've talked to, I've suggested they get a hold of Mr. Kick to look at it at the state level, to clear it up and make sense.
Yeah, should have had you and Matt there
And
today.
the other problem to address that issue, Bob, that you brought up, is there are 88 counties, and from what I can tell, there are 88 different ways of doing things in this area. And that's not good for the state of Ohio, it
No.
really isn't, because the law should be uniform
Right,
across the state.
absolutely.
Well, and like you said, to have one person go and say, I want to drive my golf cart, and that's why they have this piece of legislation, and then somebody else is why they have this piece of legislation, and they should
Right.
bring it all together and make it easy and clear.
Right, and I said before, and I'll say it again, the saying goes, two things you never want to see made, one is sausage and one is legislation. And this area of law is a perfect example of some pretty nasty sausage.
All right, thank you, everyone. Shall we move on? Third reading, Resolution 2022-34 by title only. A resolution adds Section 7.6 to the Millsburg Personnel Policy. Any questions? May we have a motion to pass?
So moved.
Second.
Poland, Vaughn,
Aye.
Coffee,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
Hofstadter,
Aye.
Emergency Resolution 2023-02 by title only. Final resolution requesting the Ohio Department of Transportation, Director of Transportation, to complete the Holmes County South Washington Street Sidewalk Project, authorizing the village administrator to enter into a contract with the state for above project and provide payment of the local public agency share of the project cost and declare an emergency. Are there any questions? May we suspend the second and third reading?
I so move.
I'll second it.
Coffee,
Aye.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
Poland,
Aye.
Hofstadter,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Thank you very much. May we have a motion to pass?
So moved.
Second.
Hofstadter,
Aye.
Poland,
Aye.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Coffee,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
Thank you. Any committee reports? Old business? New business?
I just wanted to say on the record too that Chief Shaner acknowledged Kim Herman's 36 years in law enforcement, and I just wanted to say I appreciate what Kim has done here in the department and his time in law enforcement. It's a tough profession, and I just want to say thank you on the record. As soon as Chief Shaner was done, we kind of moved on a little bit too quickly, and I felt bad for not saying anything, and just wanted to say something on the record.
Thank you very much. And we do appreciate Mr. Herman's service to the village and the residents.
I would like to thank the street department for their work yesterday and today to keep our streets clear. They look great. They did a good job.
Anything else? Not, may I have a motion to go into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation for public employee or official, and I'm gonna ask Bobby to stay.
So moved.
Second.
Poland,
That's what you're doing.
Hofstadter,
Aye.
Shoemaker,
I
Khan, Coffee.
Aye.
Vaughn.
Yeah, I just put